Hey, this is Caio.
And this is Mike.
From essentialdeveloper.com. Tomato 13?
Yep.
So we stopped in the NavigationControllerRouter test, and we are checking that we are creating view controllers and putting in the stack, but we don't check if we're putting the right ones in there. Mm-hmm. And we decided that we're going to use factories for that to keep our boundaries abstracted from each other.
Right. So we don't want to check for types per se here.
Yes. It will be given by a factory, and we want to abstract a concrete type. So we're going to have an abstract factory. So let's start with that. Now, this test is quite simplistic, but I'm going to create a new one. And our view controller now needs to be created with a factory, right? Mm-hmm. Let's call it factory, and we need to create a factory, and it's going to be...
We can call it view controller factory.
It's a stub, right?
Right, yeah. It's going to create fake stuff for us.
So with a stub, we can change the behavior of it to do whatever we want. Mm-hmm. So we can assert that we are calling the right methods with the right properties.
Yep.
And my assertion will be that my view controllers first will be a view controller that I'm going to pass here, right?
Yeah, whatever comes from the factory.
From the factory. So we need to stub the factory. Mm-hmm. So we need to create a view controller. It can be any view controller. And we need to stub the factory. Dot stub the question Q1 with view controller. So stub question with view controller. Create our SUT, we route, and we guarantee that we're going to get the same view controller.
Okay, a bunch of things are missing.
Yes.
Let's go one by one.
So first, let's think about this view controller factory. It needs to implement a protocol that we're going to inject here.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a factory that will be a view controller factory. And as we said, we want it to be abstract. So it's going to be a protocol. We need a method for getting
the question view controller.
The question view controller. So we need question view controller for question string. And we also need to pass a block. There's a callback.
That's a callback, yep.
Answer callback. And the answer callback is string to void right now.
Yes.
And it returns
a view controller.
Yeah. Since we want this to be abstracted, we don't want to return question view controller here. Otherwise, we will have the same problem before of source code dependency.
Exactly.
Of something that lives in another module. So we are going to use UI view controller here. Doesn't matter which view controller it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, the factory is going to decide that. The implementation of this protocol is going to decide that. And this is going to live in another module, probably in the main module. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Now we need to create our view controller stub. Let's do it here. And it needs to implement view controller factory. And we need to implement this method. And we need a function for stubbing. Stub question with view controller. So we can pass any view controller and stub. We can just use a dictionary.
Yeah.
So stubbed questions.
Simple lookup.
Yes. And it's a dictionary. String in UI view controller. It needs to be a var. And it can be private. Okay.
Oh, and that's an equal there, not a column.
Yes, it's an equal because we are creating it. Okay. So every time you stub a question, you just add it to the lookup dictionary. So stubbed questions of question equals view controller.
That's it.
That's all. And here, when you ask a question view controller for question, we just return stubbed questions question. And this returns an optional, so we need to force unwrap it. And that's fine because it's in our test target. And if this crashes, means something is wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's see if we can compile now. I don't think we can because of those initializers here. Mm-hmm. First of all, the name. Route to question. It's not twice, it's just one. Presents question view controller. Yeah. And I don't want this test anymore.
Yeah.
I think that was a good start, but that's what we want right now. Let me run this. And it fails. Cool.
Yeah.
So it means we need to make this test pass. And to make it pass, we need to use the factory here. Mm-hmm. So let view controller equals factory dot question
Oh, we don't have a factory. Yeah.
Oh, we don't have a factory yet. Factory. Now we can use it for a question and answer callback.
That's it.
Let's run this.
Oh, we need to initialize it. Yeah.
Yes. So the factory equals factory. Thank you, compiler. Run, and it passes. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, so now we can also route to second question.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that we are routing it. So let's create another stub. Let's call it second view controller. And assert equal here. It's gonna check the pointer if they're pointing to the same
reference.
Yes. So here I want to say last should be the second one. But I still want to say that I have the first one in the stack still. So I have the first view controller and the second view controller. Let me run this. And it does. Yes. And I can also add another test to guarantee that I have only 2 view controllers in this stack, just to make sure that everything is correct. I want to make sure that I have only
these
2 in there. And I want to make sure that here I have 1, just for extra safety. And everything's good. So we are using the right view controller here. We're just testing that we are using the factory correctly. Well, we still have the answer callback in there.
Yeah, we need to check that we're passing the right one. We can capture the callback, right?
Just capture it.
Yeah.
And test it. Yeah, we can do that. We can capture this, right? In another dictionary. Our answer callback. And we have our question, and it captures the block.
Yeah.
And we can get this here. Answer callback
for the question.
Question equals answer callback. Well, they have the same name, so can use self.
Yeah, and it's escaping.
Yes, and this needs to be escaping. So we allow the factory to hold it, or any object that is created to hold this block.
Outside the scope of the function.
Let's have another test. How many to refactor this is getting bloated. Route to question presents question with right callback.
Yep.
Something like that. And we're gonna refactor this. So we can route to question 1 with this callback, and we can just create a for callback was fired equals false, and in here we just make sure that the callback was fired. So fire, we route to the question, and then we get our factory. So let's expose this, and now we can fire. It's a callback of question, and let's make sure that this is true. The callback was fired. Let's make this fail by just passing an empty block.
Oh, yeah, I don't care.
And here we can pass
just
anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Boom. It fails. Cool. So we have a failing test. Let's make this pass. And it passes. Cool. Ugh, we need some refactorings here.
The first test, I think, is included in our second test.
Yes.
So we can probably remove that.
Then we need to rename it. Route to question. Let's say shows.
Yeah, shows.
And I think this is duplicated, so we can move here. This is duplicated, we can move here, and we can get rid of this too. Okay, let's run the test. Hopefully everything is still okay.
And this view controller in the second test can be made inline. Yeah.
So we can just give it a default. Cool. Or something else we can do. We can make our question view controller be nice enough to return a UI view controller here, if we forgot to stub it.
Okay.
And we're gonna have failing tests still. So then we don't need to stub this. It's nice, because now my test is only concerned about what it does. When I route, I want to make sure that I got the right callback.
I think we can extract the creation of the system under test also.
Yes, cool. So yeah, it's exactly the same, but I don't think we can have this in here because it has a dependency on this navigation controller.
You can create it in a closure, have it as a lazy, maybe.
Oh, but then it needs to be a var.
It needs to be a var, yeah.
Okay, and this will be closure now. we return this. Okay, we need self.
You need self. And even maybe the type of the SUT, you need to expose it.
In here, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so we can break this down. And we have a lazy var. We don't need to have a setup. That's it?
That's it. And we can get rid of it from the second test.
Yes, one at a time. So here we need a view controller and we need to stub it. And then we route and we check that we are getting the right callback. I think that's it. Any refactoring we need here? I want this to be animated, right?
Yeah.
Looks nicer. But I think we're going to have a problem now because this property is only updated after the animation finishes.
Right.
So we have some asynchronous behavior here because animation takes like 0.3 seconds.
So you need some sort of delay.
Yes. Or, well, we could have like the expectation API, in here,
yeah.
But then we need to expose some kind of block that we can wait to, or put like a 1 second wait, and then things start getting clanky. And you have like these tests that fail from time to time because something is hanging the main thread.
Right.
One thing I do normally, if I want to test UIKit animations like that, and I don't want to care about time, I create a fake controller. So if I create a fake navigation controller that inherits from navigation controller, and now people are going to say, wow, you changed the behavior.
Right.
Yes, I feel you. So yeah, that's one thing against it, but let's see where we go with this. We can have here the push view controller method. I can just call super here and pass the view controller, but I override here. And it means that this navigation controller never animates.
Right.
So I'm ignoring whatever we pass this in production. So then I can test this synchronously. And I need to override this. And it passes, of course. What people say about this is that now you're not testing the real view controller. You might have a bug. And yes, they are right.
But
the behavior I'm trying to test here is that I pushed it, that it's in the stack.
Not the actual push.
Exactly. We could even capture the value now and check if it was animated or not. If you want to test you are animating it, you can capture it here.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fine though.
And that's one solution. We're not changing the behavior, or if somehow here I called another method, I will not do that. So that's my reasoning. If I'm not changing the behavior, like calling a different method here, like if here I just call view controllers equals view controller, now I'm changing the behavior, right?
Yeah. So
that's my rule for faking or for subclassing a UIKit class, just to test it. And if you think about it, it's not even a fake. It's a known animated navigation controller. And we can probably use this in other tests. Let's run this again. And it's all good.
Okay.
But we route to a question, and we also have a multiple question. So how would the factory know which one to create?
That's a good question. No pun intended.
Okay. And we need to think this. Should we have two methods here? A question view controller and a multiple answer question view controller method?
Someone needs to specify, right? Like what needs to be created.
So it's time for us to thinking about how can we define that? Because just a string is not enough here.
Right.
We're going to start spiking now, so let's commit this.
Okay.
Okay, so let's think about this now. We can have a struct question, and it can have a question string and a boolean. Is multiple boolean. It's multiple answer. Okay, right now we have only strings, but we know that in the future we're going to have questions, they have images, so they're going to have different types. And we're going to have to duplicate these many times. So we can probably have a protocol question that have a var is multiple answer bool. So every question needs to inherit from this. So now we force every question to have this property. But now the questions needs to know if it's multiple or not. And I don't think it's the question responsibility to know that.
Yeah.
Another solution, they are all valid solutions. Another solution that I have in my mind is to have a question enum that have case single and a case multiple answer.
What I like about the enum is that it doesn't constrain you in the true or false, like it's something is multiple or not. Because what happens if you have another way for presenting the answers?
Yes, true. So what you can do here is to have this question now. Instead of having is multiple, we can say type in the protocol, and this needs to have a type of question. So when we have a new type, we just add here, and everyone now needs to expose it. So let me give these better names. So we have a question type protocol, and here we have a concrete question. Well, it needs to inherit from question type, and it needs to have a type. The problem with this is now the question knows about answers, and so far we did a great job separating this. A question doesn't know about answers, and an answer doesn't know about the questions, which means that we can mix a question that is a text-based question with audio answers, or an audio question with
text
answers. So we did a great job there, separating them. They don't know about each other. We could also have here like options as an option type. And now we start complicating things, because what is an option? We need to define some kind of structure for it. And it really ties us.
Yeah, it's, as you said, too complex. We need to create all these types up front. And what happens if we get our design wrong?
Exactly. So what I like to do is to have a question enum that defines the types that can be, and they hold a type. And in here I can have type and my type here. So I can investigate if it's a single answer or multiple answer, but it lives outside of the model. And then I can have a concrete question that is just a string again. And I can create my question dot single answer, a question, like that. So we still leave it open for our models to change, since they are generic, and adding more stuff in here without breaking our models.
Yep.
Let's see how far we can go with this.
And you can make the question enum hashable.
Yeah. One thing, if you had a protocol, this would have to be hashable because of our constraints in the engine module.
Exactly.
So in here, we need the same, or question type hashable. So our question can also be hashable. So if we get rid of this, and we make our enum question also hashable, we can have our for hash value, and then we just return.
It's just a spike right now.
Yes, it's just a spike. Of course, we're going to test these.
Yeah.
So just imagine here what we can do. We can just switch self, and if it's a single answer, return a dot hash value. And the same here. Case multiple answer, we return the hash value. So we always use the hash value of the type that needs to be hashable, and we need to conform to equatable as well, and we do the same thing. We just guarantee that the types can be the same, but if they have different enum case, they are different.
Yeah.
And we're going to TDD that. What do you think?
I like the separation there from questions and answers and not including them in the same model. And I like the types of the answer there, as single and multiple, and it allows us to extend it furthermore.
Cool, let's go with that.
Yeah.
So I want to start with a test, and I'm going to return 0 here. And I'm going to have a equatable function, question, returns a boolean. And of course they need to have a type, so I'm going to have a type here, and type, and type. And I don't think I need this type here, because they are in the same scope of the question. And I'm going to return false, because I don't have implementation yet, just so I can compile. And I'm going to add a test.
By the way, we should mention that the equatable confirmation there is because of the hashable, because we conform to hashable.
Yes.
We need to implement is equal.
If we see the definition of the hashable protocol, it also conforms to equatable. So yeah, we are forced to implement this. So let's start with our tests. And if you have your own enums that conform to hashable, equatable, test them.
Yeah.
Just test them. It's easy. So question test. Test case. So func test hash value, single answer, returns type hash. So I want to assert my SUT hash value is equal my type hash value. Okay?
Okay.
So let me create my type, and this is going to be just a string. And my SUT is question dot single. Well, I need to import this because it's internal. Testable quiz app. Okay, single answer, and we pass our type. Import.
Yeah.
Let me run this.
Should fail.
And it does.
Fantastic.
Now we can have our switch back. Return value dot hash value. And we return nothing here because we don't have tests. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the same for multiple answers. Multiple Let's create this multiple answer. And it should fail. Yeah. So now we can have a case multiple answer, and we return value and can get rid of this. Okay. So now we need to test the equatable. Equal single answer is equal. Let me create a type. Let me copy these. Well, we can just have assert equal. My type is equal to this one. They should be equal, and they're not. So let's make this true. Okay. So if I have one, let's say a string, another string, I want this to not equal. Single answer is not equal.
Yep.
Yep. And I can have this in here. Give it better.
The assertion there is assert not equal, right?
Oh, yes. We didn't see a failing test.
Yeah.
So they should not be equal. Yes. And they are not. We need to add some logic here. Let's switch. Here we have the left hand side and the right hand side, and we are comparing them. So case single answer, then I return A equal B.
I think you need to wrap them in a tuple.
Here.
Yeah.
Like this.
I think so. That's it, right?
And here we can just return false. Let's see. Cool.
Awesome.
So we're gonna do the same for multiple. And I'm gonna try to be a little bit faster. So multiple answer, and I expect to see 2 failing tests. And this is passing because we are returning hard-coded false. Multiple answer, and here. Then we return true, just to see this failing test.
Okay.
And we need a default, of course.
How a default for false?
Yeah, it means they are not equal. Okay, I inverted the result. Now this is true and this is false, which means that we have a failing test. Okay, our tomato is done. I'm just gonna finish this quickly. I think we can have, well, I think we can do some refactoring here. I think we should have like an equal test where we put all the equality we expect. Like this and this is the things that should be equal. And then we should have a not equal, right? And I want to do another one. If we have a single answer compared to a multiple answer and they are different, and if I have a single answer that has the same string inside, but they are different types, they should be different as well.
That's right.
They should be not equal.
Yep.
Let me run this. All right.
Seems we're good.
So any refactoring we can do here.
Get rid of line 33.
Oh, yeah, forgot that here.
And we can extract it in its own file. And that's interesting because now this model is not tied to the quiz app module, right? It could...
well, it lives in the quiz app right now.
For now, yeah. But it could live in a separate models module or something similar.
Yes, it could. It's generic. It can hold any type of question. That's it. We have a question type now.
Okay.
Let me run the test again. And tomato done.